Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, dear students. I'm Mr. Muhammad Khalid, and you are learning technical and business writing. It is week 5, lessons 9 and 10. Our today's discussion is about sources of writing and reader's adaptation. Dear students, in week 4, we learned briefly about the different modes of writing like narration, description, exposition, and persuasion. Well, now I aim to discuss the foundations of the writing, that how one can start writing and what different sources one can use to improve the writing skills. Dear students, you all understand that writing occupies a very special place in the communication. Writing is a process of encoding or structuring of our ideas, concepts, feelings, knowledge, information, and much more within a specified language. And that's how the knowledge is saved for longer time for the upcoming generations. And obvious that the information or the knowledge which has transferred to us was saved in the books and other resources that come down to us from centuries or have been transferred generation to generation. Well, writing, you all understand, is not an easier task as compared to oral communication. Writing is much more challenging. It is dry. It needs a specific set of understanding, and we have to use different media and appliances to compose even a simple piece of writing. Number one, writing requires a vast level of information, expertise over the language in which one is trying to write. If someone's task is to write in French, he must be aware about the French, and he should be an ideal appreciate, a very well versed user of the language, norms of that very field one is interested. Therefore, writers are few. We find in our practical life that you find lots of people can speak, they are wonderful in public speaking, but there are quite less people who can write. Fine. The reason is that we are not, everybody is not with this tendency. Well, there are so many deficiencies in our setting, especially in the subcontinent, and I would particularly express about Pakistani settings, that the students from the beginning till the university, they are not given the courses about communication. They are not trained in writing either. Fine. There is a cramming system, a set course, set syllabus is given, and that syllabus actually is made on tips. Whereas hardly this course is relevant to the practical life. And this uh, means this come out as a very great disadvantage for the students in the academic life, especially in universities, and more specifically when they enter into the professional, real professional environment. Clear? Well, students, let's have a look on today's contents. In today's discussion, we are going to have the concepts about sources of writing. They include observations, experiences, feelings, research. They are the some major sources with, and there are some other sources also: research, books, media, personal experiences, experiments, fine, stories, travel logs. I mean, there is a huge content that one can apply. Fine. Next is reader's adaptation. Reader's adaptation mean to chisel or to craft our writing, piece of writing according to the demands, interest, and understanding of the audience. That in what way our audience can read, understand, or appreciate our writing. Clear? Well, in writing, the very major thing is called style. Style, you all understand. Some people say fashion, some say mod. Style in writing is called the selection of vocabulary, sentences structure, transition, logic, arrangement of the sentences means paragraphs, and the choice of figurative language mean all that how one writes or expresses is called style. And the discussion of the style is very important because every kind of writing requires a different type of style. For example, literary people writing novels, dramas, and poetry, they use mostly the figurative expressions, idioms, flowery language, allegorical expressions, clear, and they are often subjective and imaginative. Okay? They create an abstract world, something which is simply available in or simply exist often in imaginations. But uh, technical and business writing, talking about the cloud computing, writing the mechanisms and the processes of the hardwares and the softwares of the applications, a person writing something about how the blood circulation happens, the brain and the systems of the brain, fine, a person, a scientist exploring the jet engines, and much more. That person have to opt a different style of writing. Clear? The sentence choice of the words, sentence structure, diagrams, illustrations, okay, and many more things, they're different. Fine. In this video, inshallah, in the next videos, we'll observe a little bit of the style, how the writers, literary people write, and the style of the media, and finally, obviously, we have to cover the style of the technical and business writing. Should we move next? Well, next, the very first thing is observation. Dear students, observation is the first important tool for everyone. Observation means to judge something, to watch something, applying the five senses and mainly the vision. Clear? This is called observations. Observations are the very fundamental information. For example, some person wants to write an essay on health of, sorry, some person is writing, for example, writing an essay about the pollution and the infectious diseases in Rawalpindi. For example, you have been given an essay by your teacher or a report by your teacher about the pollution and infectious diseases born out of the pollution in your city. I mean, you can either say it. So what one should do? Observe. Mean while you just observe around you in your home, find out the areas you observe that which nook and corner of your house is say dirty, the dust buckets, okay, some place around the water tank, clear, and the gutters, okay, and there are certain spaces you find that they are dirty and you, okay, then you come out and you find that in the street people are you find the garbage scattered all over by the people. People are throwing the dust and everything on the road, okay, and the next step you find is a small little dhaba or a hotel, fine, and they are throwing out trash, okay, and there is also the water from the sewerage water is coming and gathering up on the roads, and mosquitoes are there, and flies and much more. So it is an obvious data. You should, I mean, you are observing it. This can be a very, very strong source for someone to write about. And usually, the writers who write columns, blogs, they write essays, or they are very strong observers. Let's read. Observations are a type of primary research. Observation involves spending time watching people or other creatures interact with each other and the world around them. Every scientific field can mean observation can be quite useful and incredible in every scientific field in gathering information. Exactly, it is true. It is 100% true that observation is the first tool for everyone, for the scientists, clear, to gather information. I still remember that I read about a writer. There is said that some writer, he was given a task to write about the what the animal feel in cage. Clear? He went to zoo and he watched the enemy. Then literally he engaged himself into the bars. He sat there and felt how the other creatures would be feeling like. Clear? And then he wrote the feelings. Clear? Means observations are very important. Clear? And even in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked several times to the people, observe around you. Why don't you watch and see? Why don't you watch and see? What to observe? This is next question. Attention to the details of a situation. For example, when you are given a task to write about pollution and the infectious diseases, being observer, you should see the details, that what is this type of garbage, from where it is coming, who is throwing, what is the nature of this garbage, what type of flies and mosquitoes are hovering over, and how they are going to cause the issue. I mean, there are so many things. Write it as detailed as possible. Then we must write it to have a notebook with them, that is called journal, that they do write the details, that today I observed this, and observed this. And then they note those information into the notebook. Well, going back to the observations. Well, observations are not simply for personal writing, but also in official writing. For example, suppose you are uh, means a manager of a software company or a team lead in a software company, and you have to observe a specific office in Barrier Town, Rawalpindi, and you come here from Karachi on a task, and you have to observe the routines of the people. Then what happens? You go over there timely, check the record, sit in the office, watch the corridors, check the arrival and going of your people, their working style, clear, their coming and departure. So many things that one person has to observe. Similarly, observation is used for uh, learning by the educationists and business people or the management people, that they watch students, they observe their routines, the style of teaching, clear, and much more. And this is how they get first-hand data, primary source. Fine. Well, next, personal experiences. Personal experiences are something developed than the observations. Clear? For example, last time we take you have observed that the garbage is there. But other day, you found that some of the family members has been bitten by a mosquito and has been diagnosed dengue, or some other person has been diagnosed malaria, and you yourself, on a may Allah save us, have got high fever. Now, it is your personal experience. What you feel like. You go to hospital, clear, and there you find the doctors and patients, they are busy with the diagnosing process and all. This is something that has got into your personal experiences. Own experiences can be a powerful way to appeal to your readers. Use personal experiences only when it is appropriate to your topic. Clear? So you have found it that people, when they I mean, we are more convinced when some person gives us the something from his or her own life. Clear? And must say that we should not use experiences over and again. That must be according to your topic. It should help your writing goals, and your audience must like it. Clear? And when you are sharing your experiences, So on the basis of experiences, one can write. Clear? Personal experiences should not be your only form of evidence in the most of your paper or writing. I mean, it shouldn't be that you have composed the entire draft or entire essay on simply based your own experience based. Clear? But remember that observations and experiences, they are the fundamental sources for the writers. Clear? And those who want to start creative writing, they should use these sources first. Next, interviews. Fine. What is an interview? Students, are you understanding it? Now we have to move to interviews. Inter means between, views mean exchange. Mean exchange of views, ideas, feelings between the two people. Clear? That is called interview. Interview can be said as a face-to-face discussion. Fine. An interview is a good way to collect information that you cannot find through any other type of research. Clear? Interview mean that some person is writing about the uh, problems, about the you are writing same essay. You should take same essay with an example about the pollution and the infectious diseases, and your observation and personal experiences are there, but they may not be enough to prove the evidence uh, to to get to the real thing. And much better thing is that you should conduct interview. Interview can be number one. Interview can be of the patients. Interview can be conducted of the hotels. Interview can be conducted from the doctors and many others, from where you get the real-time information. Clear? Interviews can provide an expert opinion. Interviews can be provided, for example, someone can invite doctors, some can environmental scientists. Clear? They can give you very expert opinion, and interviews are conducted mostly. And what happens that on television, when there happens any problem, political issue, some scientific issue, environmental issue, legal issue, they they call expert to talk on the television. Clear? And it is a sort of interview or the expert opinion. Interview can provide an expert opinion, biographical or the first-hand experiences, and suggestion for the further research. Clear? By conducting interview of an expert, one finds more appropriate information and can shine or can brush his writing. Clear? Brush means can chisel or can uh, more appropriate the writing. Students, understood what is interview? The common examples of the interviews are there are so many. Fine. We simply are taking interviews as a source of information. Here we are not talking about interviews as a tool to find a job or vacancy. Simply interviews as a source of information, and mostly the journalists collect information and data by interviewing the people. Should we move next? Okay, next slide. Survey. Surveys are a kind of interview, but it is written in nature, it is highly specific, and it is printed with different types. Fine. This is the form, customer satisfaction survey. Clear? And here you find that they have generated Clear? They are the questions. Fine. And here, excellent, good, average, and poor. These are the points which has been given. Location, contact, facility, staff, value. These mean they are the interviews. And similar surveys are made when people. So most often you have found that there are the different organizations conduct surveys about the internet facility in your area, about the health location in your area, about the food items, and much more. And surveys are mostly conducted by the management or the business organizations to find out the trends of the people and to decide. Fine. So this is a very formal way of the writing. Clear? That is something, a very highly official thing. Clear? And what can be done in surveys? Surveys allow you to find out some of what a group of people thinks about a topic or issue. Designing an effective survey and interpreting the data you get, interpreting the data you get can be quite challenging. I mean, designing in survey, there have to be very key questions according to the problem. Okay? And then the data and its interpretation or analysis of the data is very high. I mean, this is very different thing. And this section actually is pertaining to high formal in research. It is not for the beginners. Beginners have the two. Number one, observations, experiences. Fine. It is a good idea to check with your instructors before creating or administering a survey. Clear? So if in situation one have to design a survey, then the supervisor or the teacher can help you in that regard. Clear? Then move to next. How can you improve your writing skills? I think we can talk about how can we improve our writing skills in the next video. Well, I'm sure that you have learned